All right, she lost an election, and now she's projecting. Hillary Clinton went on The View this week, which immediately raises a serious question. What's the weight capacity for that stage? But you'll never guess what she talked about. Her love of gardening, the things she does to stay healthy, how much she adores catching and cooking stray kittens. Nah, it was Donald Trump, as expected. But it's like I always tell Taylor Swift, girl, you gotta move on. Seriously, Trump doesn't just live in Hillary's brain. He's built a 500-unit condo with in-unit laundry and a rooftop lounge.
No political powerhouse is untouchable, not even Hillary Clinton. With razor-sharp wit and unapologetic precision, he cuts straight through the shimmering armor of political theater to expose the woman beneath the myth. Every smirk, every choreographed grin, every media-polished line, gone. What's left is the raw, unmasked figure of ambition itself. From the infamous email saga to the unforgettable foreign policy chaos, nothing escapes his comedic scalpel. He carves into her record with a grin so sly and timing so explosive that each punchline lands like a spark in a fireworks factory. This isn't gentle humor. It's a full-blown demolition. The crowd doesn't just laugh. They erupt, jaws dropping as the illusion burns away under the spotlight.
Registered voters said any Republican would be better than President Biden, prompting one woman to legally change her name to NE Republican. In Washington, D.C., the giant grocery chain has announced a ban on large bags. Great, now where will I shop? Complains one large bag.
Picture it, rolling out of bed, stretching like royalty, sipping that overpriced latte, and thinking, you know what the world truly needs? More pearls of wisdom from Hillary Clinton. Because naturally, nothing says unity like life advice from someone who's spent decades sidestepping scandals like a raccoon dodging flashlights in an alley. The irony practically writes itself if irony came with its own laugh track. It's the kind of absurdity that makes you chuckle, cringe, and sip your coffee harder, realizing the punchline was hiding in plain sight all along.
Hillary Clinton argues Joe should be, quote, direct and forceful, end quote, against Trump in the CNN debate. Yeah, direct and forceful, just like the noose I put around Epstein's neck. If I did it.
If you're enjoying this takedown, hit that like button and subscribe. Now Greg Gutfeld was just warming up. When he hit the stage, it was like watching a late-night thunderstorm crash into live television. This wasn't a roast. It was a cinematic disaster movie playing out in real time. A hurricane of mockery, lightning-fast wit, and zero hesitation. He transformed political critique into an art form, balancing chaos and charm with breathtaking ease. It was like watching a bulldozer crash through a crystal gallery, loud, thrilling, and impossible to turn away from. But the spotlight hadn't shifted just yet. Hillary stood metaphorically center stage, and Greg was ready to turn up the heat with precision that bordered on surgical brilliance. Right on cue, the storm broke. Greg's jokes hit like thunderclaps, each line sharper than the last. His stage presence was pure chaos wrapped in charisma, a spectacle of timing and tone. The laughter rolled through the room in waves, unstoppable. Each jab hit its mark. Each pause stretched the tension. It wasn't just comedy, it was an exposé, wrapped in punchlines, driven by purpose. And through it all, Hillary remained the glowing target in the beam of his spotlight, her polished image slowly melting under the heat.
Warning signals that you were gonna lose?
Exactly.
Well, too bad you didn't bother to visit the states you ended up losing, you potato-shaped wine bag. But would he even be worse now?
I think that he'd be even worse now.
Yeah.
Because he was somewhat restrained, believe it or not,
Wow.
in the first term by people who he
Then Greg rewound the tape to the era of basement servers, secret addresses, and the legendary deleted button. The time when the word transparency meant see what you can before it's wiped clean. 30,000 vanished emails, gone faster than a teenager scrubbing messages before their parents walk in. It was the digital disappearing act of the decade. Every deleted file added a spark to the inferno. It stopped being about emails. It became a statement, bold, brazen, and unforgettable. Integrity wasn't lost. It was buried, stamped, classified, and Greg made sure no one forgot that sleight of hand. Greg didn't hesitate for a heartbeat. His eyes sparked with that familiar glint of mischief, like a political scientist about to set off a live experiment in chaos. Only this time, the reaction wasn't fizzy soda. It was Hillary's polished legacy, exploding before a roaring audience. Every sarcastic strike hit like a perfectly aimed truth grenade, detonating with precision and rhythm only Gutfeld could command. He tore through decades of Clinton-crafted spin as effortlessly as ripping open a bag of chips. Today's flavor, scandal.
And, they're going to try to ignore him for as long as they can because they're deathly afraid of him. And they're going to do to him what they did to me in the Democratic primary of 2020, which is pretend you don't exist. And then if people start noticing you, then they will try to smear and cancel and destroy him at all costs.
I remember what Hillary did to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she's still standing.
Baseless smears that repeated over and over and over again by the propaganda media until people actually start to believe it, and it starts causing some real damage.
Hillary was destined to win, or so the script said. The coronation was staged, the confetti prepped, and every late-night pundit had their victory monologue ready to roll. Hollywood glitterati waited in their tuxedos. Politicians had their tweets drafted, and champagne bottles sweated in the back rooms, waiting for the pop that never came. Then, boom, the American public rewrote the ending. One shocking, history-bending no echoed across the nation, and the political world froze in disbelief. So how did Hillary handle the fallout? With a world tour of excuses that could rival a greatest hits album, book deals, blame games, and finger-pointing in every possible direction. Russian bots? Check. Macedonian bloggers? Check. The Wi-Fi? Somehow also guilty. The only person missing from her investigation was the one in the mirror. Greg didn't just call her out. He dismantled every flimsy defense with surgical precision and wicked charm. Every recycled talking point, every dramatic interview, every excuse melted under his sarcasm like wax beneath a blowtorch. Watching him tear through her spin was pure spectacle, like a kid at an arcade with infinite tokens, hitting every target with unstoppable energy and zero restraint.
Asking Hillary what will happen if Trump is reelected, which is odd because Hillary's an expert on not getting elected. I wonder, does she think it would end our country as we know it?
I think it would be the end of our country as we know it. And I don't say that lightly. You know, I hated losing, and I especially hated losing to him because I had seen so many warning signals during the campaign.
And then came the Clinton Foundation, the shining monument to what exactly? Altruism, transparency, or a cleverly disguised family empire draped in the language of generosity? The money flowed like a river, yet somehow the world didn't sparkle any brighter for it. Coincidence? Not a chance. Greg dove into the subject like a kid tearing into a box labeled hypocrisy, handle with care. With each reveal, his grin grew wider, his timing sharper. He reminded the crowd that Hillary's famous Wall Street speeches had all the excitement of a telemarketing script read off a diamond-plated cue card. 6 figures to lull bankers to sleep. It was politics as luxury bedtime storytelling. A soothing lullaby for billionaires. Each punchline stripped away another layer of the Clinton mythos until the glossy image collapsed under its own weight. By the time Greg was done, the crowd wasn't just laughing. They were gasping, wiping away tears of disbelief, watching as one of politics' most carefully guarded icons transformed into a walking, talking punchline of her own creation.
This is why lefties always get all the commencement addresses, and they love to spout their opinions on award shows because they know there's no journalist there that will ask them a question. And the reason why, and he's the perfect example, none of their opinions are actually real. They are all assigned in the Democratic Party's pocket since Hillary stopped having sex.
That's like decades.
Yeah. Losing the union endorsement is like P. Diddy running out of baby oil. There's a whole lot of friction ahead. When Teamsters polled their members about the Dems' new candidate, Cackle's McKnee pads.
And then came her grand reinvention, the dramatic transformation into a self-proclaimed defender of truth. Now that's pure comedic brilliance. This from the same woman who once insisted she was dead broke while owning more real estate than a monopoly board. Her connection to honesty, about as natural as a vegan at a steakhouse, strained, uncomfortable, and impossible to believe. Still, there she was, marching onto the stage as if she were the moral compass of democracy itself. It was like watching the referee of a demolition derby preach about fair play. You can't help but laugh at the absurdity. Greg's roast was relentless, sharp, polished, and surprisingly educational, like a late-night history lesson taught through laughter. He reminded everyone that Hillary's career has more scandals than a decade's worth of soap operas, only with acting that somehow feels even less convincing. Every relatable moment she tried to stage felt as authentic as a commercial. Grabbing a beer at a dive bar, staged. Riding the subway, staged. Breathing oxygen, still under investigation. The audience howled as Greg tore through each performance, exposing the artifice behind every carefully curated smile.
The alleged creator of the plan was Julianne Smith, a Clinton policy advisor that the unclassified Durham report refers to as Foreign Policy Advisor 1. And this woman, look how happy she is. She's like, I got away with everything. I nailed it. And then Obama made me the liaison to NATO. I mean, not Obama, Biden. Like I continue to get employed by these people because all I do is sit around and do the illicit bidding of my Democrat power boss.
Doesn't mean that Hillary would have been a good choice either. She was a terrible choice. She's a corrupt politician, one of the most unlikable people that's ever run for office. They were trying to get people to be supporting her just because she's a woman. This is going to be her history. Women, ladies, I stand with her. So there's all these women that have this blind allegiance towards this career politician, completely full of shit. She's been full of shit.
Then came the knockout punch, the grand finale, the moment Greg Gutfeld set fire to Hillary's remarkable talent for turning everything she touches into rubble. Endorse a candidate, they vanish from the polls. Champion a policy, it crumbles before the ink even dries. It's as if the universe itself handed her a lifetime membership in the Society of Unintended Consequences. If Hillary ever endorsed gravity, the planet might just start floating. Unfair to blame her for everything. Maybe. Entertaining to watch? Absolutely. Because seeing someone who's been in politics since the dial-up days still trying to market themselves as the face of change is like watching a VHS tape audition for TikTok. It's tragic, nostalgic, and unintentionally hilarious all at once. And then there's the ever-faithful media squad, clutching her every word like an over-caffeinated pep team, spinning disaster into brilliance even as it collapses on repeat. Greg didn't even break a sweat. His delivery was effortless, his sarcasm razor-sharp, every punchline slicing deeper than a direct insult ever could. And the most devastating part.
This one is wild. This is Hillary Clinton in like 2008, and Hillary Clinton saying some wild MAGA type shit.
Tell people to come out of the shadows. If they've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked, they're gone. If they...
She's a Republican.
If they've been working and are law-abiding, we should say, here are the conditions for you staying. You have to pay a stiff fine because you came here illegally. You have to pay back taxes. And you have to try to learn English. And you have to wait in line.
You have to wait in line. You have to wait in line. It's
You couldn't believe that.
illusion.
Hillary didn't even need to show up. The roast was already sizzling to perfection, flames so high that even Gordon Ramsay would have applauded and shouted, "Flawless." Yet somehow, like a sitcom villain who refuses to exit the stage, she always reappears. Dramatic timing and all. Maybe this time it'll be for another memoir, perhaps titled, "You Thought I Was Done." Spoiler, she never is. The saga keeps looping, and every time she drifts back into the spotlight with the elegance of a misfiring Roomba, Greg Gutfeld is right there, handing her the microphone just to set the stage ablaze once more. She struts in, impeccably tailored, every line dripping with that familiar mix of charm and condescension, flashing a smile that says she remembers every secret in Washington. Figuratively, of course. It's political theater at its most ironic, more suited to Broadway than the campaign trail. The crowd watches in fascination, nodding as if she's unveiling world peace with a sound bite. Yet when she utters those glossy lines about protecting democracy, it lands not as a battle cry, but as something far slicker and far less sincere, like a TED Talk rewritten by a marketing team.
Dare she? She puts out this tweet, and it's a picture of her, a much younger Hillary, and the caption on the hat reads, "But her emails." And she writes in her tweet, "Bringing this back in light of recent news. Get a limited edition But Her Emails hat and support Onward Together groups working to strengthen our democracy." The nerve of this woman to have committed federal crimes and to have gotten off because James Comey didn't have the spine to bring it.
It's all theater, meticulously staged to make it look like democracy betrayed her, instead of the other way around. But Greg's roast didn't just expose the cracks. It tore the whole facade apart, hurled it into the river, and handed the crowd binoculars to watch it sink beneath the surface. Every scandal, every whispered deal, every donor mystery, dragged right into the spotlight without mercy. Greg reminded everyone that Hillary Clinton isn't the master strategist she sells herself as. She's more like an overworked corporate manager, trying to fix a tech meltdown with a motivational poster. And the final twist, after all the reinventions, the PR miracles, and the endless new chapters, Hillary still overlooked the one trait that could have redeemed her: real humility. Greg's roast hit harder than anyone saw coming, because it reflected the one thing she's avoided her entire career: the unfiltered truth. When the laughter faded and the smoke cleared, all that remained was a startling image. Not the myth, not the message, but the reality. Maybe Hillary Clinton isn't the misunderstood hero of democracy she paints herself to be. Maybe she's simply the loudest voice in the room, one that still hasn't realized the audience stopped applauding long ago.